wrestling. All right. So I was kind of sad to find out that Survivor Series is not that important anymore. It seems like to me growing up, the big four pay-per-views, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series. And now it feels like, I guess, Money in the Bank is another major one now or something. Because this did not feel like a major thing. This felt like it felt useless for the most part. What do you think?
Useless is a very strong word, but it wasn't useful. Your two title matches, well, your two matches with the champions were, I guess, gentlemen or gentlewomen type things that don't really, it's dead end storylines. So whatever, as far as the Team Raw and Team SmackDown, I mean, the work was good, but I mean,
I don't understand even the need for a champion versus champion thing. I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to accomplish. In theory, it would be really cool to see, like, oh, okay, who's the best champion or whatever. But it's,
well, the problem is, the brand split. What does it actually mean?
Exactly.
And because, like 20, 30 years ago, seeing it, basically the only way that would matter now is if you had a AEW champion versus a WWE champion, because it's all the same. Even if it's NXT, it's all the same. They all go back and forth. So, like, it's not even like minor league baseball. It's just people just wrestle wherever they wrestle, and sometimes somebody just shows up. Like, it's not a surprise anymore when someone shows up on the other show. There's really not a lot of separation, and some of it's because of the pandemic. Obviously, they were taping everything from the same place, but even now they're back on the road. There's no way to delineate. Like, if they took the imaging away of SmackDown, right? They took the imaging away, the blue brand, all that stuff, and it just was a wrestling match. There's no differentiation between what the wrestling and the stuff is on SmackDown than from what it is on Raw. At least to me. Maybe I'm wrong in that. You tell me what you see.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm still upset about the whole brand thing going back when they started this whole thing, because to me, you could have done a quote unquote separate federation, a separate league, a separate thing. You bought out WCW, and if you don't like the name WCW, call it something else. Yeah. But you could have had an actual thing. And when they do these drafts and when they go from thing to thing, it's like, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter,
because they end up where they want to be anyway.
Right.
Or just where they feel like. I mean, there's no real delineation between what the brands are and what they mean. So until that becomes a thing, now we'll say this: I like the Big E match with Roman. I enjoyed it. I like Charlotte's match with Becky, but I've also seen that match how many times? And again, and I'm not, listen, and I'm always conflicted on this, because how many times do the Browns and Steelers play?
I was just thinking that it's like when like the Steelers are going to play the Bengals again this weekend. It's like, boy, they keep the football booker keeps booking these rematches.
Yeah,
it's some lazy booking there.
Mm-hmm. But it's what it is. But it's just wrestling. It depends on the new, but also still try to attach to the old, and it's just confusing sometimes. Or even AEW. It feels like everybody's got a damn belt in AEW. Does anybody not? In fact, I think it's more significant if you don't have a belt in AEW.
you kind of have a point, because they do have champions from other people. It's like, oh, the AAA champion and this champion, Impact champion. It's like all these champions. Like, okay, but everybody's a champion. That's true.
And if TNT has a show come out, then they name a belt after that show and just make the person champion.
That's true.
It's like, my God,
how many channels does Turner have? Is there going to be a TBS champion and a TNT champion, and is there going to be a Food Network champion? Is there going to be?
Hey, I mean, maybe there's a Final Four champion when the Final Four comes along.
Right.
I mean,
okay.
NHL.
Okay, but before we rip on AEW for all that stuff, there was a match in Survivor Series that was basically a big Pizza Hut commercial. So, and one of the main angles was about an egg. So,
Jesus. I was like, you watch that and you got the women's tag team champion chasing this egg to fight against the men's champion, and then you got these people chasing the egg that normally would be chasing the 24/7 belt, and it's like, why would I take any of you seriously in a match against Big E? Like why would I believe that any of you could beat him? Like, what have any of you shown me in the last 6 months that will make me believe that you can win a match against him? Oh, by the way, you stole property. And you get rewarded for stealing that property with a selfie and a championship.
That's the Vince McMahon way. That's good shit, pal.
That's good shit. Dean, basically the only thing we miss is we were just talking about how it's sad that Survivor Series is just not that important anymore.
It used to be one of the big four. I mean,
it used to be the big fours: WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series. Those are the big four.
I've still always had a problem with Survivor Series, though, because they've not found a way to make it have any stakes. Okay, bragging rights. Kiss my butt with bragging rights, okay? Bragging rights don't
they don't even
anything.
care.
They didn't even care. It was no suspense. Raw won every match except 2, and one of them was a DQ. There was no suspense about it. There was no bragging on Monday about it. It wasn't like you've got general managers that are fighting each other for this brand supremacy, and none of it was about brand supremacy. It was about rivalries, and which is fine, but again, there's no stakes. I've always maintained that if you're going to have stakes, right, that you want something to mean something here, have it so that the winning brand picks 2 people from the losing brand to come over to their brand.
That'd be perfect. That would be great. There would actually be stakes or something. Make a fake,
make a trophy,
a $10 million
head.
Put up quote unquote money, millions of dollars or something.
$1 million prize, whatever. Yeah.
It's just sad. I don't understand. And then you have champions versus champions. I get it for the brand thing. It's fine. Okay. It is kind of cool to see, different people wrestling each other, which a lot of times you see the same people, but they did it so well a couple years ago when NXT was a thing and they were trying to make NXT a thing.
Right.
And that actually was good because here's the little brother, the little baby, the minor league thing that they're trying to elevate, and they did, and it worked really well, and then that just all went to hell. So
right, they already have the Night of Champions too, right? So they have champions fighting each other. Then Survivor Series needs to be retooled. Okay, and it needs to mean something. It needs to have something special. The only thing that had an inkling of interest, they're still doing well with Roman Reigns. So the Roman Big E and the tie into the New Day and the Usos and all that had some interest. Becky and Charlotte was the only other interesting thing in the lead up. Damian Priest couldn't even get any television time in the lead up. And you're talking about someone, to be perfectly honest, if they let him go, if they let him do his thing, he is the next big star in WWE.
He has potential. He definitely has potential.
But no, he made events the pre-show. Come on.
That's another thing. He's the United States champion.
Yeah.
And he went against the Intercontinental champion.
Yeah.
On the
pre-show?
On the pre-show.
Yeah. You put the Battle Royal on the pre-show.
Exactly.
Okay.
That would have been
That's what
perfect
goes
for
on the
that.
pre-show.
Perfect.
That whets the appetite. That gets you interested. Putting
Oh,
it.
man. Just
I mean, they've done that forever, though. I mean, and that's my running joke is that someone is main eventing the pre-show, and it's because I mean, they've had the Miz defending like his Intercontinental title on the pre-show, and I'm like, what is happening? This is like a big title, and you're on the pre-show. That's ridiculous.
And it just makes me sad that again, we're a couple old guys. Maybe we're just yelling at the clouds here.
I am.
The Intercontinental Champion used to be
workhorse.
It was the workhorse champion. It was like the actual wrestling champion. Whoever was the world heavyweight champion was usually like the big guy, the Hulk Hogan, the Diesel, the something like that. Roman Reigns, Roman Reigns is perfect for that. But then the Intercontinental Champion was the workhorse, the guy that was actually the best pure wrestler. And
they don't even need to be that. I mean, but there needs to be interest with that. They need to be defending the title more often on television. If you're going to have a storyline with Roman Reigns like you do, where he's holding on to the title for a long, long time, that Intercontinental title needs to be a significant component of your television program. And Nakamura and Boogs really haven't been a major component of any of that. And I don't understand like why it's not a bigger deal.
Yeah. So I guess they're doing something where they're trying to make Damian Priest a psycho or something like that, or
like a dual personality,
angry,
playing off of the name, even Damian for evil and Priest for good. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with him. I think his snapping is actually going to resonate with the audience, and they're going to like that, similar to the Hulk up from Hulk Hogan. I think that's going to catch. And I see big things for him if they let it happen. And that's, of course, nowadays with WWE, the big caveat is, will they let it happen? But he could be contending for, he could be in the main event picture very soon if they listen to how the audience reacts to him, if they grow him, if they cultivate it. That could happen.
If they do it right. Yep.
And they need to build these stars. They need to build these stars. I love the story of Big E as a champion, but I've never envisioned Big E as the WWE champion. I've never, I've envisioned him as U.S. champion Intercontinental level. He is certainly entertaining. I just don't see him as the guy. I never saw Drew McIntyre as the guy. They don't have very many of the guy. Okay, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns. Okay, who else? Who else is a big enough mainstream
John
star?
Cena. And what do all those three have in common?
Yeah,
they're from a bygone era. They're from they were established years ago.
Right
now,
so I don't know. I mean, Vince doesn't want to let anyone become bigger than the company, but
exactly.
I mean, come on, man. You gotta have those top tier level stars to make it something. What I do like what they're doing with Big E is they're having multiple people going out for him. He's coming, getting it from all directions, with Seth and with Kevin Owens, Finn Balor's in the mix. I mean, so he's getting it from all directions. I like that because everybody should want a piece of the champion.
Right.
But, and I liked his kind of turn on beating up the Usos last week and his character personality with that. It was really good. But, then Survivor Series, he was just fed to Roman Reigns, which we all expected. And I don't actually have a problem with that outcome. Roman had to win that match because we are now in the place. Whoever beats Roman is a made star. Unless it's Brock Lesnar. And I'm afraid that's what they're going to do. I really am. But I don't know who that person is. But I would even be fine with him going through this WrestleMania and beating Brock Lesnar and holding onto the belt for another whole year if it elevated somebody else to superstardom when they beat him, when they knocked him off the perch, when they took out the head of the table. I would be all for that. Got to give me some interesting stuff in the meantime, of course, but I would be all for using Roman Reigns to build a new star at this point.
Here's the thing. I think eventually, and I think everybody wants to see Roman Reigns versus The Rock. And I don't think we're going to get that. I don't think we're going to get that this year or this WrestleMania, but maybe the next WrestleMania, because I think the The WrestleMania in 2022, I believe, is in Dallas in that big giant Cowboy stadium. But I think the one in 2023 is in LA. So it would kind of make sense to have The Rock there. And you don't even need the belt on Roman, really.
Roman can't lose the belt to The Rock. That
no.
That cannot happen.
But the whole thing about the family, they could do all kinds of things about who's the head of the table, who's a family, and all that stuff. Bring Vin Diesel in, since we're talking about family.
Yeah, right. Bring Bad Bunny back. He was good. I mean,
yeah,
God.
Yeah, he was. It was very surprising. He was very good.
So, I'd love to talk about Becky and Charlotte a little bit here.
Yeah, let's get there. Let's get there. Yeah. So they opened the start of the pay-per-view, and wow, they turned a situation where I think it actually was unscripted, unplanned when they did the little belt swap thing, and Charlotte. Hey, Nubyjas.
Hey.
We were just talking about Becky and Charlotte, and they turned that into and it was actually a shoot thing, and then what happened in backstage, they were yelling or whatever, shoot thing, and they turned it into a work shoot, and now they had and Nubyjas and I, we talked that. They've wrestled a whole bunch of times, but they made this special because you weren't sure whether they were actually going to cooperate and whether they were going to, are we going to see another Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart?
Yeah, especially Survivor Series. I mean,
it's so well done.
Help me out with this though, guys, because I'm my viewpoint of this. Like, is Charlotte working us really well? Or is she just really annoying and entitled and I can't stand having her on my television? Or is she just doing her job and I hate her? Which one is it?
I think both.
I mean, I am tired of seeing her on the screen with the belts. I want to see more people beat the crap out of her. And I mean, I was telling a buddy of mine like before the match, I'm like, I guess it worked because I do want to see Becky beat the piss out of Charlotte. So it worked. Whatever they did worked.
But here's the thing. Charlotte probably isn't like that, but you would think she would be, right? Like, it's very believable that the daughter of Ric Flair would act that way. Yeah. I mean, particularly what we know about millennials and all this other stuff. I mean, I guess she'd be a millennial, right?
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, somewhere around that age. Yeah, I think she's Gen X age. So again, it's like those millennials and all. I mean, it plays into all the things. It's very similar to your boy RK Bro, right? I mean, I mean, hey, he to me is one of the top 3 or 4 heels on the whole program. Because you look at him and you actually don't like him.
Right. I do like RK Bro though. And Randy Orton does it for me. I mean, Randy Orton's the one that carries it.
Randy plays looks like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's like all of us older guys are like the same. We're like, dude, come on.
Literally, like, stop it, bro. What are you doing? But I'll give Riddle credit. He can work.
Yes, he can.
He can work. And again, that's what he is. It is legitimate heat. You don't like the man. Now, you don't like him for different reasons, but it works.
Yeah.
But now it makes you like him, which do you respect it? It's like, oh God, they did it to me again. And that's why we still, amongst all the things you complain about, and those are legitimate complaints, we still watch it because every now and then they make you like somebody you don't want.
Right. That's the truth. And and I mean, Randy Orton in the last 5 years has done the best work of his career. Yeah. Just top to bottom. He is just keeps hitting it out of the park over and over and over again.
What he does, the stuff he does, it means something.
Yes. That's the important thing. Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't work crazy fast. Now, he'll do, and again, also when Randy's doing like the stuff he did with Edge, that means something. There was a build to it. It's like, okay, this is how this gets settled. Whereas some guys that do that stuff every match,
Right.
And they can't be good for their bodies, but also it gives me nothing else to really get excited about.
Correct. But yeah,
Yeah,
but stories like that, I mean, Becky and Charlotte again, they roped me in. Whether it was, work, shoot, whatever, it worked. And I did want to see Becky beat the piss out of her. And
and
she
Becky
won.
sold the hell out of she hyped the hell out of that match. She was doing interviews and stuff where she basically said, I legit hate her. I don't know what's going to happen. And then after the match, she was just bawling.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm sad that we used to be friends and now we're not friends anymore. And I'm just sad that it's come to this. And she just sold it so well. It's like, I don't know whether this is actually real or not. It's just it was very well done.
Well, that's the hardest thing about wrestling these days, is because it's like everything else, we have more access to them.
Right.
Like, I really try not to follow wrestlers on social media, is because they give up the business. Like, I still want to believe that Becky and Charlotte don't have dinner together after the match.
Right.
Because back in the day, the era of wrestling I grew up on, that Cowboy Bill Watts stuff, where it's like, okay, hey, if you go to a bar and you're a worker and you get your ass kicked, I'm firing you. Notice he didn't say I'm firing you for getting into the fight.
Right.
I'm firing you for losing. Why?
Well, that was funny because they just talked about what that was Seth.
Yeah.
With that fan that ran in, and all he did was like basically just subdue him while the other people came, and some people were like, oh wow, Seth didn't kick his ass. Seth's not that tough. It's like,
no, because Seth ain't trying to go to jail.
Seth showed amazing restraint, but let me tell you something. I don't want to mess with those referees the way they came running in there.
Oh yeah!
Holy crap! they were ready to pound the guy.
Those are some big boys coming in there with. Although I will listen, the dude, and he did a video where apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but the guy said he was booked by Goldberg. He was booked by Vince. There's a little video out there on social media the guy posted.
Oh yeah.
He got out of jail last night, and he posted. And again, I don't know. The man, I'm gonna say this very carefully. He sounded like a man who was a little distraught. Okay, who had just been dragged off and spent a night in jail.
Yeah,
I don't know if what he's saying is true, but that's the beautiful thing. Maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was a plant. Maybe it wasn't. Who knows? But what I do know is, if they're going to create an environment where people think that stuff is okay, somebody's going to get here.
Yeah,
that's just inviting
now, if that's true,
trouble.
The one thing, being a TV producer, that tells me that it was not set up is that the camera went away from it. The camera stays on it, it's planned. Camera comes off
exactly.
It's not.
Exactly. If it's on TV, it's a work.
I'm about to send you the link to this guy real quick while we're here. So just I'm gonna send this to y'all real quick.
I saw the one thing from like a fan thing where it looked like the guy was coming out of the entrance.
Yeah, I know. It was like, how did he get to that part?
He came off the ramp,
and it took a big run. And
Shane Taylor here say, people always ask why I'm always looking around ready to throw out. This is why. Staying inside of the barricade.
Shane Taylor's a badass. I would love to see him in WWE or AEW. He's a badass.
Yeah.
But but here's the thing though, like, now some of this is you're trying to draw back to the emotion of the Dusty Rhodes days of where, Steve Austin tells a story about how come the cop won't get that gun and shoot that guy beating up Dusty? You know what I'm saying? Like, or like people were really ready to fight guys because they believed in it that much. I mean, part of the reason, along with other factors, financial factors, so on, why you did have to break kayfabe, right? Because you can't have people believing that it's that real,
right?
But it's hard to draw people in if there's not some real emotion there.
Yes.
And so how do you draw that emotion? But also, we're coming off COVID, even covering sporting events.
Yeah.
There's a different tenor at sporting events now. It's not the same. And I know some of that's the pandemic because everything's related to the pandemic, but also some of it is fan behavior, human behavior. There's just people who've been inside too long.
It's like they forgot to play well with others.
They
think it's all about them.
They spent too much time on Twitter being keyboard warriors and then translated it to real life.
Well, that's the other. Well, Dean, you said it, because that's the talking about this.
So circling back, if Becky and Charlotte have that conversation, are they going to have that conversation? Do you think?
I hope so.
Do you think they're really like? I do feel like some of their angst is real. They're either that or they're selling it really well.
I think it's the angst is real. I think they really are not friends anymore. But I think, if it really, they worked a great match, and you have to, communicate. You have to be sort of, work with the person that you're doing that with when you're wrestling. So
because it can't just be a real fight, because it's not.
You've got to trust them.
But on the flip side, I appreciate you bringing that back around, because I probably would have got distracted. But the point is with stuff like that, because of how these industries work, there can only be one champion unless there's another brand. And there can only be one top person. And you're trying to be that top person, you might be willing to do or say things that may unfortunately harm the other person. Because that's the way, but that's by Vince's design.
Right.
And that goes back to the Hogan era, that goes back to, Bruno Sammartino, shout out to Pittsburgh legend. I mean, it just goes back where they create this brass ring, and it forces people to feel like they got to get it by any means necessary. And it becomes an act, but then sometimes there are things that you say about some person, even if it's in jest, even if we both know it's a joke, you're still saying that about me on TV.
Yeah. The conventional wisdom right now is Becky is the locker room hero for standing up to the horrible bully Charlotte, who has done this crap before, that she won't, follow the script and do all that stuff. And what I say to that is, I don't know what is actually going on, but we spend a lot of time talking about the ridiculous booking decisions. I can imagine they're throwing a lot of stupid things at Charlotte that they want her to do, and she's probably like, no, I don't want to do that. Screw that. That's stupid.
But or think about this, going back to those trips over to, Saudi Arabia and all those things, right?
Yeah.
Like the guys who could afford not to do it, didn't do it. But how many people can afford?
Not many.
To stand and be like, nah, I ain't doing it.
And that's the way Vince likes it.
Right. But that's also why, as much as I crap on AEW a little bit, I also appreciate their existence. I appreciate New Japan. I appreciate all that stuff because, again, like you guys, I watch the territories. And if you don't like the way they're treating you in Georgia Championship, you can go to Florida. If you don't like the way they're treating you in Florida, you can go out west. You can go wherever and create your thing and change it. And you can work and make a living.
Now there's an actual alternative. And, people don't have to, if they don't feel like putting up with what's going on, they could say, okay, see ya. I'm gone. I'm going somewhere else.
You might make less money.
A little less.
That's the thing. Like, but is it more creative control? I mean, even then that becomes tough too, because it's also a sport you're doing with your body. And you can have a plan and somebody hurts something to where they can't work around it, then none of it matters. Like Sasha Banks had that issue for a long time. Every time you get to a point where you're really ready to give her that, put that batter in her back, and not to say she hadn't had a great career, but the injury stuff is a thing. And that's the part where it is like traditional sports, where, hey, you could be really good, and all of a sudden Ben Roethlisberger gets hurt. Now you got Mason Rudolph. It don't matter what kind of scheme you got when it's Mason Rudolph versus Ben Roethlisberger.
We saw that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And so, because again, there's only so many people that can do it. And so you kind of build these plans and you demand more and more of their bodies because they're going all these places. I'm looking at the WWE calendar, they're all over the world. Now they're back, traveling everywhere again. In a pandemic still. How are you covering the travel? All that stuff. So all these things factor. who gets the bus when they go to the event, who gets the big trailer, who gets the good locker room, who gets the best resources, whether it might be some simple as a parking space, or who gets the individualized catering, or who has to go to catering with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And all these things sound small until they aren't.
And right now, there's only one person that gets that, I think. Maybe two.
Okay, who'd you say?
Roman and Charlotte.
Yeah. Oh, and it's on the current. Okay, it's
And
like on the
Becky.
day-to-day. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say Brock too, but Brock's a whole different
He's a different animal.
Oh, yeah.
Literally. or a
Right.
beast, right?
Yeah, exactly. And but I mean, whoever beats Roman, they're made.
But that's the thing. I mean,
But who's that going to be?
Who is
Who's
that
the
going to
build?
be?
And so does Roman make someone, or does someone have to elevate themselves to
I
their?
think someone has to naturally elevate themselves, and I still believe that person could be, and not next WrestleMania, but maybe the WrestleMania after, Damian Priest. It's going to take a little time, but I think he's got it.
I like him a lot. I don't like some of the stuff they do with him.
Oh, of course,
But I
character
like
work, but-
him. But I mean, it's so hard because, like, I go back to this with Otis. Okay,
Mm.
like you give him the Money in the Bank. You let the Miz steal it from him.
Right.
And to this day, Otis hadn't said a word about it.
Right.
And now you're trying to build Otis back up. But I remember. And I think,
Oh yeah, the day that Miz comes back on TV, Otis should be there ready to whoop his ass.
yeah.
Right.
Honestly, Otis should have been chasing
But he won't.
the whole time. Even if you say, okay, we don't want to put the belt on Otis for whatever reason.
Mhm.
They could have did it where I would have had some type of body posse expert on there talking to Vince McMahon saying, hey man, listen, you're fat shaming Otis. Why you treat him like that? And hell, you can even tie it within Doudrop too, right? You know what I'm saying? It's them both up there saying you won't even get this woman a real name. Meanwhile, she might be one of the better workers on your brand, but because you make her wear these stupid clothes that don't,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? I just have them all up there. All the Kevin Owens have them all just saying, hey man, we've been held back by the man.
Have Mick Foley come back, be their mouthpiece.
There you go. There you go. And I mean, and that's it. But those are things that people can believe in because there was a time when wrestlers did have diversity in body types.
Hey, look at Dusty Rhodes. I mean,
Exactly.
you're talking about the American Fat Man, and I can say that because I am the American Fat Man too. I mean, he was
That's
not
why
that
I grew up
wrestler build.
idolizing him. It's like I
Hey,
wasn't
he
going to
was-
look like Hulk Hogan or Lex
He was
Luger.
the common man. And
I could look like Dusty Rhodes.
Hey, my hind is a little big. I mean, I look like
Thank you. Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
like
Yeah.
a little big. He
Mhm.
put hard times on Dusty Rhodes.
Hard time. And that's something that lives forever.
Forever.
And they could have did that with Otis if they wanted to.
Mhm.
And it was
Well,
right
remember,
there.
They had that whole thing with Mandy Rhodes that they just
Yeah.
Yeah,
went
and
away.
so listen, so you had him with the girl leaves him. We don't know why.
Right.
Do we know why she left him or why they're not
No,
together anymore?
actually, no.
They just dropped it all together.
yeah, it was
Exactly.
Just, they
So-
split brands, and it was like poof, gone.
So, but they have a whole relationship, allegedly or don't, I don't know. But you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Or I guess it could be worse where Vince decides to let your wife pretend to be sleeping with Bobby Lashley as if though it's like some type of black porn or something, right? So I mean, and the fact that Lashley was able to get out of that, but
Yeah.
you ruined what was a good character in Rusev.
Right.
For
What do,
whatever
what,
reason.
what do we got that's good? What's good right now?
Roman
WWE.
Reigns.
What do we have that's good?
I like Roman Reigns. I like
Bianca.
Big E. Yeah.
Her
Third, I,
business when they do it right, the
Mhm.
whole hurt business.
Yeah.
The whole hurt business.
I like it. I agree. They never should have broke them up the first time. I guess they're trying to get it back together.
Yeah.
and Bobby Lashley recovered from that whole
Mhm.
crap
Yes. Yes,
and
absolutely.
became what he is, a dominant
He's a
monster.
star. Yeah.
Right.
And they could easily have him feuding with Big E right now.
And they probably will at some point. They'll go there.
And they could.
Yeah.
He's still.
We'll come back to that.
Didn't he just kill Rey Mysterio or something?
Yes, literally, my
Yes.
guy.
Yes.
It's like a fly on your windshield.
Yeah, they put you in jail. They put you in jail for that in most places, man.
That's okay though, because that needed to happen. Because I swear, if Rey Mysterio would have won that match, I would have broken my television.
There's no reason to believe that Rey Mysterio
Could
he's
ever
gotta
beat Kevin Nash, anybody but Finn Balor. He should not beat on that roster.
I mean, how old is Rey now?
Didn't he beat Big Show one time or something?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
come
Just
on.
drives me nuts. Come on.
Ray, I think
mean-
he's got to be 40s, right?
Yeah, it got to be at least, right?
Because I mean, he was wrestling in WCW in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also wild. You talk about old guys. One of them who can still go is Sting.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing all right too. He's
I mean,
60
he
years
looks-
old.
I mean, he looks now. Again, I don't want him doing any Broadways or anything at this point, but
Mhm.
the stuff he does still looks good.
Right.
And you know, one of my really good friends, her name's Emily. She's 28, and so she came into wrestling from watching Total Divas. I know, but that was her entry point. All right. Total Divas and like the couple reality, you know, the Glow reality show, not reality, you know what I'm saying, Netflix show.
Mhm.
That was her entry into wrestling, particularly Total Divas. And then I was like, hey, let's watch an episode. Because I had stopped watching wrestling for a while. She actually got me back into it a little bit, kind of watching because she was wanting to watch and whatever. Kind of, okay, cool, whatever. And so then one day we were sitting down, we're at the house or whatever, and I showed her some old 80s episodes. I mean, like Blade Runner thing, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, hey, this is 1985, 86. And that is Sting. And then let's go back and watch them right now. And because you look at like, okay, Tully and Arn and Jake.
Who they could all barely walk.
Right.
Jesus
There's
Christ.
no,
I mean,
they're not doing any. I mean, like occasionally Arn does like a spine buster or something like that. That's all he
Yeah.
can do is like one move every
one
few
move.
months.
and
But
listen,
Sting's working matches.
legitimately working.
Yeah.
It is insane. I said on Twitter, I was like, he might be one of the greatest old athletes ever. I mean, because now again,
I can't speak for Dean. I don't know how old you are, but I'm not
I'm-
exactly young.
No,
I
I'm
can't
in my
imagine.
50s.
As you get older, it's harder to run around and do athletic stuff. And that dude is 60
I don't like
something.
I don't
and
like
he's-
getting out of bed.
Right.
That's all.
look, man, you have to take your vitamins and go to the doctor.
Yeah,
and
brother.
stretch. I mean, you know,
Say your prayers.
Say your prayers. Look, I
Say a prayer, I can get out of bed and not break
Right,
something.
right. It's like if
I
nothing
probably
breaks
spent-
or pulls, I'm
Yeah.
good.
There's days where I probably have to stretch for a good like 15 to 30 minutes to get my day started. And
Yeah.
then another 15 to 30 minutes at night to get to bed.
Yeah.
And that's not including
Yeah.
a workout or whatever like that. But I ain't doing that. And I'm nowhere near 60, thank God. But I'm saying, like, I can't imagine him being able to lay off that long and still be able to go at the level he goes at. And you can tell all the boys respect him because he's actually still able to.
Yeah, doing the work. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you get some of those guys, man, and like those last couple Taker matches. Hey, bro, it was
It
time.
was time.
We don't need to see you out there no more. We love you.
Right.
God bless you.
He should have
Right.
stopped with Roman. He should have stopped with that at WrestleMania.
And that's the problem, and that's the hard part because I was cool with Lesnar ending the streak, and I was cool. I was okay with it.
I wasn't, but
I'll tell you why. Okay,
it grew on me, but I wasn't at the time.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was like, okay, if somebody's gonna do it, it should be this guy here. If someone's going to do it, it should be him, because to me, no one else is worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're gonna have Undertaker drop another one, then it should have been Roman. And at the time, I know people didn't like it, and my people still don't like it. But Roman has paid it off. Say what you will about it.
Oh yeah.
He has paid it off tenfold. He is at a very interesting point. He survived a whole lot of stuff, and he is good. He is in his bag. And because you hate him, he can work a little different.
Yeah. That's
I'm
right.
loving what he's doing. I'm loving everything he's
I
doing.
do.
Anything he's involved in right now, ever since he came back with Paul Heyman, it's been awesome.
And he's
complaints.
literally the only Heyman guy. Well, CM Punk, but CM Punk's a little different because he's so good on the mic. Roman's pulling the strings.
Right.
He just tells Heyman what to do.
Yes.
Whereas with everyone else, it's Heyman pulling it, and it's clear that Heyman's orchestrating it.
Right.
Roman's like, okay, go sign that. I don't want to have to deal with that contract stuff. You do it and make sure it's right.
It's so cool because when Heyman was the manager of Brock, it was like, I'm Paul Heyman. I am the spokesman and I will talk for Brock and blah, 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 blah. And now he's like actually scared of Roman. He's like, yes, whatever you want. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, my tribal chief.
Yeah.
Yes, my tribal chief.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. And that whole angle with Brock, and you weren't sure whether who he was going to go with and stuff. That was really well done.
I will tell you what, that was so fun because the obvious thing would have been, this is when Roman's going to get it now, and it wasn't.
And then when he threw the belt in, and it was right between the two of them.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. And also that's where give Brock credit.
Yes. Yeah.
For we talk about like changing the program and all that stuff, because obviously there's the stuff where Brock allegedly didn't work with Dean Ambrose and what that was. And again, you never really know.
Right.
But from what people have said about it, he didn't want to work with Ambrose and it showed. Okay. He gave in. And it doesn't hurt Brock.
Right. Well, not at all. Doesn't hurt his legacy at all.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt Brock. I mean,
the other nice thing about that is the conventional wisdom was, well, he needed Paul Heyman because he doesn't like to talk and he doesn't like to do promos and stuff. And that could be further from the truth. Right. He's been awesome. Yeah. He's been awesome on the mic. He's been awesome like anytime he was talking. So,
because if you pay him enough money, then he'll do it. I mean, because let's be honest, you ain't paying him to talk. I'm not gonna do it. Listen, you work a job, and so Caleb. All right. We all do things in this, we work in this industry of journalism and sports, all this stuff, and get to do these things. Every job, no matter what it is, has a dirty 30, right? That percentage of stuff you really don't want to do, whether it's like, okay, we got to do this little tab that, man, nobody's going to read, but it's just what we do. Or whatever that thing is. Everybody's got, every job's got it, no matter what.
Every got the thing, yep.
Every job, all right? Brock was like, I'm not doing any of that stuff, man. I come here to beat people up and leave. And,
and I'll show up when I feel like it.
Not sure, but I actually like it because if you're good enough to pull it off,
more power to you. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, because when you're not, they're going to work you like a government mule. Yeah. Which is also how our jobs do us. So as a working man, I'm like, I respect Brock being able to do what he wants because
he knows his worth and he's not pulling any punches, and he's showing what he's worth. Like, okay, hey, good for you. We all want that. We all want to go get to that level where we could just say, nah, I don't feel like doing that.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, and I can respect it because most people, people aren't great at that way. And when you are, you better take advantage of it because it's not going to last long. Because this game will stop loving you real quick. And that's why I was going back to with the other stuff. That's why I didn't like getting into beefs with people. I don't like that because
it's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. And because of how life goes, today that person may be a competitor. Tomorrow they might be hiring at the paper you want to work at, or the TV station you want to work at.
Right.
They might be the hiring person.
Right.
Yeah.
I just focus on doing my job.
That's it. That's all you can control, man. You can't control nothing else. And if we ain't learned nothing else from this pandemic, man.
But then I still don't know if Becky and Charlotte was real.
I love it. I mean, you know what?
Could you see Becky versus Charlotte at the next WrestleMania? Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Totally. I could see this whole thing still continuing because even the way they ended it, it's like Becky cheated. So it was
after Charlotte tried to cheat. Yeah, so.
After Charlotte tried to cheat, she got caught. So hey, they could keep this going, and we could keep wondering, and it'll be great.
But that's good wrestling, and that's what we grew up on. That's why you love it, and it's harder.
That generates interest. Do it, yeah.
But also, it's just in society, it's harder and harder to create compelling content because there's so much out there. There's so much out there, and well, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
I was going to say, Chris Jericho has a podcast. He will fight somebody. He'll have a feud with somebody. And then the next week have this person who he's so hates so much, he'll have him on his podcast and they'll be talking like nothing's going on. Like, come on, dude. Come on.
Well, but hey, that's the same thing we try to do. Oh, talk about that trash on Tuesday. See when the first like, oh, hey, man. It's like, so, I mean, but it's because here's the other part of it, right? Like, I do think that, and this is hard, fans are smarter than ever. They're also dumber than ever at the same damn time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you become too smart, you start questioning too much. Like, people were mad when Edge won the Royal Rumble. And I get it, okay, but you know what? Did you have fun watching it?
Yep.
Was it fun? Yeah, it was fun. Was it nostalgic? Yeah, it felt cool. Now, realistically, do I expect a man who broke his neck 10 years ago and been out of the game for so long and is in his late 40s to be able to beat up 30 prime superstars?
Yeah. No.
But does it matter?
No,
because I enjoyed it. And that's the thing with WWE. We still watch it because you do get those moments. And yeah, you'll slog through it, but you know what? When I covered baseball, you know what? Some of those, like, a series in June, Pirates versus Reds, but nobody understands. It's hard to get up the right for that, all right? Just being real, because it's every day. All right, but you know what? If the Pirates get it rolling, and all of a sudden it's hitting All-Star break, and they got a little hot streak going, and they got Josh Bell banging homers, and maybe they could win the division. Oh boy, it's fun.
Hey, 2013 to 2015, I would go see games just because it's like, oh my God, they're in the pennant race. They're in it. They're good. Like, I'll just go down to the stadium and check out a game on a Tuesday.
And you'll deal with the hassle of getting there. Now again, I will say PNC Park actually, in comparison to a lot of places, is pretty easy to get to, relatively speaking, in comparison to a lot of stadiums. But still, you got to pay to park, you got to get there, you got to buy, your food and all that stuff. And it's not cheap, you know what I'm saying, to do.
Especially Steeler game.
Yeah. Oh, God, don't even start on that. But if they're good and they're entertaining and it provides you some joy, you'll do it.
Such good memories. That was so much fun. So much fun when they were contending, and people loved it. And then,
I'll tell you, I was 10 years old in 1979. First year I watched baseball. They win the World Series. I'm like, this is great. Steelers win the Super Bowl.
Especially
win the World Series.
You're gonna be hooked forever. You're gonna be hooked the rest of your life.
And then the 80s happened. I said,
oh God. Back in the 80s, like Pirates and Steelers were bad, right? And you didn't have the Penguins yet, right?
Penguins were just late.
Penguins were awful before Mario. Yeah. Early 80s Pittsburgh sports sucked.
Yeah, like
that's when I got in. I was a little too young for the 79 team. Like 81, 82. That's when I was became a Pirate fan.
And so for me growing up in Atlanta, it was like when I came into the Braves, those were bad teams until, like, obviously you remember 91, the
right. Yeah, we do.
Dale Murphy and a whole bunch of crap was.
But Dale Murphy was my first athletic hero. Mormon ass white dude from Utah. It's like, hey, that is my guy. Because the one cool thing about sport and wrestling, all this stuff, is that at its best, if we allow it to be, it can bring together two white guys and me. And we can talk about it because it's similar backgrounds, similar situations. You can understand it. There's a certain language to it. And it can bring joy, civic pride, all those things, if done right. And in wrestling too, like if you believe in Roman Reigns or insert whomever here, you'll root for him or you'll hate him, whichever way you go, and you'll watch it and you believe in it every week. It only works if you believe in it.
Right.
Once
or if you're not sure what's going to happen, or even if you are sure it's going to happen, but if they still do it well.
Right.
When wrestling is done well, it's really good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And you can tell the difference. Like, as I mentioned with Emily earlier, like, and again, like, you know, certain things will happen. She's like, oh yeah, okay, they're gonna do blah, blah, blah. And again, she ain't been watching product nearly as long as us three have, but she picks up on things. She's not stupid, you know what I'm saying? Because it's not hard to figure it out. But then every now and then they do that thing.
Well, it's little things like they were smart on Sunday night, but almost winning that battle royal. Because who's going to throw that guy out?
Exactly.
Okay. Who's going to throw him out?
Well, that's the thing with Omos is I'm very interested to see how he gets used going forward. I'm very interested to see how much longer he stays with AJ Styles, how they work that out. Because eventually they got to turn on each other, right?
Right.
I mean,
that won't work well for AJ.
Well, I mean, dear God, Omos could kill him, man. I mean, that's a big dude. That is a large man. I mean, my goodness. I mean,
but even the little subtleties, like I like that Randy Orton basically played a trick to avoid having a match with him.
Yeah,
I mean, that was smart. It was like,
if I don't have to, I am not fighting. Again, I'm nowhere near the caliber of someone who could win a fight against a professional wrestler. Okay, I do not have those illusions of grandeur. I ain't dumb. However, if I had to pick someone that they say, okay, well, you got to fight somebody.
Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, but guess who I'm not picking?
Almost.
I ain't picking that big dude.
No.
I ain't picking him at all. I pick him to be on my team. I'm not fighting that big dude. Let's give me a crowbar. I mean,
even then.
Even then, I'd have to use because you got to get close enough to use it.
Yeah.
You know, Vince talks about that airport factor. You know, somebody walking through the airport, everybody turns around to look. Everybody's looking at that dude. In fact, if that dude is getting on an airplane, I feel really bad for him because I can't imagine a seat that's going to hold that.
It's going to be uncomfortable, man.
Well, it's like watching O'Neal Cruz walk through Pirate City. Like, you know, the spring training facility, and that dude's like ducking down and stuff. Like, oh my God, that is a large young man. And he's not even grown into his body yet. Or seeing him play shortstop, which is still wild to me.
Yeah, I know. You haven't played shortstop? That's so weird.
Because he can until he can't. And who knows?
Until he can't.
But I mean, that's like that kind of height and size. Because, like, realistically, like, you think about it, right? Like, how tall are you, D?
5'10".
Okay, all right. So, like, at 5'10", someone who's, like, 6'2" or under, you're pretty much, you know what I'm saying, out.
Right,
like, all right, I'm a couple of inches shorter than you, but it's not like a crazy thing where you're going to be, like, towering over me, all right? You bring in O'Neal Cruz. Or did you bring it almost? Hey man, that's one of those I tell people all the time. Like when you're interviewing people, you know how you've done the thing where you're standing.
Mel Blunt.
Yeah.
Mel Blunt. You go to interview him and you're just like, hello, Mr. Blunt. Can I reach up to you?
He's always got that darn cowboy hat on. And that is and still at his age.
Another dude, like, Al Equipa head coach is another dude, man. He is just tall and just imposing figure. And you're like, hello, sir.
I don't want no problems with you. Which also ties back into some of the stuff we're having with fans and some of the things that are happening because people been inside too long, and video doesn't quite illustrate, like, you know, the fans
how big these dudes are, and everything.
Or like that fan who threw that thing at Lane Kiffin. Hey, Lane Kiffin's like 6'3", 6'4", and got some size on him and works out pretty regularly. I bet you if they pull that fan out the stands and said, okay, you got all them issues with Lane, meet him right there at 50, just you and him.
That fan ain't doing it.
That fan ain't doing it. 9 times 10
think twice.
9 times 10 he pee his pants first. Because that is because Lane Kiffin is as much as a jerky is, you may not like him or whatever. And he's recently divorced. That man will kill you, man.
He's gonna take all his frustrations from the alimony and divorce out of
that man will beat you like you stole something, man.
There was while the whole thing with Seth and the fan was going around, somebody showed, I don't know when this happened. There's somebody named Jacob Fatu, who I believe is an MLW or something like that. Some fan came out of the stands, and this Fatu dude messed him up. It was basically just ran at him and did like a forearm to the face. That dude dropped like a pile of bricks.
Good.
He just went down. Like,
good.
Wow. Yeah. That'll teach you.
The video on YouTube when Austin and Triple H were having a match. And someone went after Austin, and Triple H saved him. And then Triple H and the referee were stomping a mud hole in the It's like,
that has to be like
in the ring, man. Don't
like a great opportunity for them, because they always have to do worked punches and works. It's like, ooh, I get to beat up somebody for real. Yeah, let's get them.
I mean, but it's also your protection, because people forget about like Monica Seles getting stabbed.
Right.
Or people forget about the
brings a
Kansas City Royals was the first base coach.
Roddy Piper talked about it. He got stabbed. He'd get stabbed. People hated him so much in the Hogan era.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's also going to be weird because we're still in the pandemic. Like, and I know people don't like talking about COVID or whatever. I know people feel what they feel, and I'm not going there. All right, because I just don't want that energy. But this thing is still happening because the numbers are what they are, right? It ain't going away, okay? But people are trying to get back outside. They're trying to get to normal. And you got people who believe things that aren't true. The type of people who show up to the White House on January 6th. Those are also people who buy tickets to wrestling events. And they're in there with other types of people, okay, who don't believe that.
So there's MJF, who tries to be, he's kind of like the modern day Roddy Piper, where he tries to, lives the gimmick.
Suits and the pinky ring, and
you know what, he's a heel 24/7. I could easily see somebody going after him or something like that. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
Someone broke in Sonya's house, right? Sonya's
yes.
Yeah,
it's like
scary stuff.
Because people believe
they think they're who they are on TV.
It's like, hey man, like, listen, man, this is how I make my living. And
but they think the same thing about moving TV stars too. I mean, they'll run into Courtney Cox out somewhere and say, hey, Monica, because they think that she's Monica from Friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, she's Courtney, it's
right.
That'll happen.
It's weird. And it's also something I have to remind myself doing this. And I'm sure, Dean, you felt it, Joe, because it is also weird when you meet these people in real life and you actually have to have professional relationships with them.
Yeah.
Where you have to turn the fanboy off, and you have to just talk to them.
That's not hard. That has never been hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had a problem with that. Because I just, to me, it's just me. I don't know if other people have, but it's my job, and so I cover the team and I ask the questions when I'm there, and that's it, And
that's your job. But like as a fan, you go up to somebody that you're a fan of, and that's like that's a pretty intimidating experience.
Well, I actually don't do that though. Even if I was to see wrestling, I don't cover wrestling. If I was to see Randy Orton in an airport, I'm not going up to him.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not going to go up to him.
Yeah. Because he's got so many people that are going to come up to him and all that shit. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Now, I will say sometimes, like, if you're working a beat, like, doing baseball and now doing this, like, there are places where I know certain people may hang out. Now, if I need to get you away from the facility, I might go to that spot. But I'm making it very clear what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk to you, but that's different. But outside of that, no, when I see guys out to dinner, I don't want to bother them because I don't want nobody to bother me when I'm out to dinner.
Right.
You know, like I'm doing, but I mean, there are people who feel very entitled to access to these people.
Yeah.
And because of social media, it's even worse because people believe that they can say and do the things they do on social media in real life.
Right.
And
you can't.
And baby, you might not like Russell Westbrook the way he plays, but that dude is 6'4" and muscular. And I doubt highly if you just put you and him in a room that you're gonna run up on that man.
You might not.
Was it Mike Tyson said something like social media has made it way too easy for people to not say stupid things without getting punched in the mouth or something like that.
But it's real. It's like, and again, like most people don't want to get into actual fights, which is why we watch wrestling, because it is a way to get that aggression out.
It's that release. It's a story and everything else.
Yeah.
And you know, and I've since I became what I became as a producer, I like watching the producing end of it more than anything.
Of course.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've tweeted, oh, awfully convenient they have a graphic for that match they just made.
Right.
Right there.
Fastest graphic artist in the world.
That's it's a great graphics team right there.
Or just magically, all of a sudden, this guy's music comes on and here it comes.
Right.
Yeah, they knew to have that music queued up. That's incredible.
Right. It's like if I really want to sneak up on somebody, why am I playing my music?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like so if I'm really trying to catch you slipping, because actually the funny thing is that fan who tried to catch Seth Rollins, that is actually how it would work in real life.
Yeah.
Like if you really were trying to catch somebody lacking, that's what you would do in real life. You just run up on them somewhere where you know they're gonna be and just do whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
But of course, you can't do that because it's not how. Because in real life, you do that to someone,
you get arrested.
Yeah, you're gonna go to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, then they always have the cameras in the back in the most convenient of places. And
it's just magically in that locker room where those things are happening, right?
All the magic. I'm like,
or we're just happy to be privy to this private conversation here.
Right. All right, guys. Well, this is awesome. Nubyjas, how can people find you, and where in the world are you at now?
Where in the world's conversation? There you go. No, at Wilborn, at Wilborn19. It's NWILBRN19. Work for AO.com, Alabama Media Group, and covering Auburn Tigers football and basketball. Got the Iron Bowl this week, so
please beat Alabama.
They're gonna try.
Alabama is the Roman Reigns of college football.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna call them the Hulk Hogan because I really want them to get beat.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. That's what Nick Saban does. They're so good. I mean, I was watching their last couple of games. Man, they are a good ball club. By the way, I'd love to hear. Shout out to Pitch. Shout out what the quarterback there is doing. Pickens, good for him. Pickett, excuse me. I'm sorry. I hope
it's our one good season. We got one good every 40 years. We get one good season. This is our one good season. So let's celebrate it and cherish it, because it's not going to happen again until 2060 something.
Yeah,
right now, they're the best team in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Hey, or better yet, if Penn State beats Michigan State this week, do they try to book the rematch in the bowl game? Do they try to book Pitt versus Penn State bowl game?
That'd be fun.
It's
good
another.
Lord, I might have to tell the Post-Gazette let me come back for one day.
It's such a pet peeve that they don't. The booker of college football sucks, and we don't get a Pitt versus Penn State and a Pitt versus West Virginia.
It's just it's again, we talk about the money and the sign of the times. When Penn State was an independent, they don't need to play Pitt. It literally, for Penn State, as flawed as this is, it does them no good.
Exactly.
But God, it hurts college football. It hurts.
Right.
It does.
Rivalry should happen. I mean, North Carolina and Wake Forest find a way to play when they're not on the conference schedule with each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, because again, for them, that it's
it's a rivalry. It matters.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. And honestly, it hurts Penn State too.
Yeah.
because they still got a
don't
recruit
see
from
it.
Western PA.
Yeah,
Right.
They just don't see it.
Right.
They
They
don't
don't
see
see
it.
it.
And they will beat Pitt 9 times out of 10, but that one time that Pitt wins, we'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah, but also speaking of that real quick before we got here, that's why the Iron Bowl is so special because Auburn, you know what I'm saying, like it's only a 10-game lead. And since Bear Bryant left, it's 18-18 coming into this year.
Nice.
Ooh.
And so they find ways to keep it Auburn, even though they're not quite the program Alabama is, because nobody is. They have found ways, you know.
Auburn, Alabama is the Becky Lynch, Charlotte of college football. They hate each other.
Yeah, listen, it's real.
Alabama is easily Charlotte in that equation.
I love it. Oh, man.
Dean, where can people find you?
I am Dean16 on Twitter, and I'm producing all the sports content that you see on Channel 11.
Dean's behind the scenes making it
Very
all
much
happen.
behind the scenes, yes. They don't want me on camera.
Speaking of height, I saw Jenna Harder was doing that show with Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, she's on the box.
She has to get on the box.
Oh man,
she's on the
which
box.
is it seems to be with a lot of news people and sports people. They gotta stand on a box.
Nobody says anything about the box. Everybody asks her about the thing on her leg, which is it's the microphone,
the communication device. Yeah,
that's it. You know, they're like, "Are you on house arrest?" No,
I was just gonna say that. That's what she should say. It's like, I murdered somebody. I'm on house arrest. Like,
it's totally not. It's just
you want to mess with me.
I mean, but that's
the microphone.
But that being said, I mean, would she will be nowhere near the first journalist to ever also.
Well, she was, but she wouldn't though. She's awesome.
She's somebody, by the way, in that market. And like I said, I know I cracked on Madden and DK or whatever earlier, and like I said, with DK, it's cool. A couple other beefs I've had, we've all settled them. The majority of people in that market are really good people who want to do a good job. It's just that little small element that creates what ends up becoming a toxic environment. And I just hope one day that readers and viewers stop engaging it, so those actors will stop thinking it's okay.
That's the thing. They're saying and doing crazy things to get attention. Stop giving them attention, and they'll go away.
And I say that I say it all the time. Like, hey, if you don't like the Clay Travises or Jason Whitlocks of the world, then don't watch them.
Yeah,
watch. And every time you want to retweet them to dunk on them, go retweet somebody you actually like.
Right.
If you're
that, giving them what they want.
Because it just thing because they people don't understand. And Dean, you know this, like you'll take ratings. It don't matter if it's quality, you want the eye. So if people are tuning in because they hate certain people, then nobody cares why you're turning in. You're tuning in. Tune into what you like.
Yeah, exactly. And ignore what you don't.
Exactly.
That's it.
But then there'll probably be no Twitter. So
that's right. Twitter would shut down if that were the case. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yes.
Talk to you again in January. Hopefully Royal Rumble is better.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right.
Boys,
see you guys.
All right, see ya.
Yep.